I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatties Gonna Fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
How have I been this successful in life?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the MMA Analysis Podcast. Just the Canadian crew here with you again this week. Shaun, at some point you're gonna start falling off a cliff because of the kid as well. It hasn't hit you quite yet. You got to wait until they get to like daycare age, I think, right?
There's two things. I don't know. I guess we'll see how the time works out, but I live on the west side of the world, and so the extra 2 hours, the earlier 2 hours might help in that situation. But I'm assuming at some point I'm going to have to get some help on this podcast or miss a bit of time depending. But yeah, my wife is very nice. 1 day a week, I get to come talk about dumb things that happen every Saturday.
And dumb things abound in this sport. Yeah, we got a decent card. At least what I saw of it was decent last week. And an absolute shit show of a card this week that even the Bonesaw folks were like, no. If you bring this to us, we're sending them back in pieces. All right. So you better keep these fighters in your fucking warehouse so we can avoid an international incident. But yeah, we'll get through all that. But Shaun, how you doing?
Good, man. It's been a good start to the year on gambling on some UFC. So always enjoy that. It's much easier doing it this way than just digging yourself a absolute canyon of a hole and try to dig out of. So I'll take that. Fights have been okay this year. Really, we're just getting through the mud to get to next week, and then a little bit after that, because the next two pay-per-views are ridiculous.
We got a good stretch. The pay-per-views are good for the most part. Pay-per-views are good. We'll just have to slog through some stuff in between them sometimes. You know?
Content.
We'll make it happen.
Got to slog through the content.
That's all right. I have plenty of distractions this time of year, so I've just started watching the fights that actually interest me, which I know doesn't necessarily make for the greatest podcasting at all times, because I don't necessarily have I mean, I can say things about any fight, even if I haven't seen it. You know how these fights go. You can talk some shit, but you know, other things are occupying my time right now. We got
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You can't. If the UFC is going to serve up a heaping pile of shit, you should give the appropriate amount of time if you have better things to do. Some people don't have better things to do. They can just watch that shit and it's cool.
It was me once upon a time.
Yeah.
I used to watch all this shit, but
I mean, these pay-per-view cards, I'm sitting down right at opening fight. So I'll do that for cards that matter, and for the other ones, if it works out, if it's on in the background, it's on in the background. If something cool happens, I'll catch up and then watch the good fights. And speaking of that, just one note before we chat about last week. Did you see the tweet and the graphic that showed that our buddy who's in the main event on Saturday has more main event fights than any champion currently in the UFC? Now, of course, there has been a little bit of turnover. Fair enough.
Not named John Jones, though.
Not named John Jones.
Yeah, because he's still the champ. But for some reason, they left him out of that graphic.
No, they did. They said everybody but John Jones. He's the only one. And
Okay.
I mean, that's one shitty Stipe fight away from going into retirement anyway. So
Very-
at that point, that's the UFC apex. That's what that is.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yep.
It's kind of sad. Somebody else pointed out that he has more main events than the flyweight, bantamweight, and featherweight champions combined.
Oh, you mean the mostly good fights?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, somewhere that all the cards count, and I don't know, that doesn't work out for me. Toutmaster, the Toutmaster update, Nard Jr. and MMA Overwatch are tied for first. So a couple nice showings from them at the last card. West dropped out of the top 10. He was supposed to be holding it down for the show. Down to 12.
And then of course Lance 20th. Lance has had it. It's kind of shitty because there's very little chance that we're gonna get Lance on this podcast. And what makes it shittier is he's doing good, like extremely good betting wise, and so he's probably like, I don't really want to look into these fights more than what I do right now, which is take 10 minutes. And so he's not going to show up to the podcast. He's on an absolute MMA heater, and he's not going to try to fix that.
You know what? One of my best years as far as picking and betting fights was 2019, which is when I was completely gone from the podcast. I won the odds breaker, pick'em contest, and all that stuff that year. And it was because I wasn't thinking about shit. I was just like, oh, that guy's going to win. That guy's going to win. Just went down the list. But yes, eventually LR, this is going to be a lacrosse podcast. So prepare for it, because the lacrosse bets, they've been heating up.
Get out on that grass, on that college grass.
Anyway, Shaun, last week, UFC Mexico City. We'll go top down because that's what we do now. Yes. Main event, raw dog, perro crudo, if you will, split decision over Brandon Moreno. 49-46, Brandon Moreno is certainly a thing that you could put on a scorecard after that fight, but two of them got it right, and nice little performance from the raw dog.
They got it right, but they got to about it a very weird way. But when the right guy probably wins, then even if it's a shit show getting there on the judges' scorecards, at least the right guy won. That's really all you can hope for when dealing
some of that when it comes to Brandon Moreno fighting in Mexico, right?
This is a weird. Fair enough. It was also just a super weird fight.
It was.
We obviously bet the raw dog. It was consensus bet. It was that was a good hit. Not the fight that I expected. I really thought there was going to be a lot more action. Moreno, I figured, would be a little more grapple heavy. He did a little bit, but just couldn't do much with it. And I don't know if he was he thought he was winning by just circling and throwing a hay every once in a while. He landed a couple. I mean, that is what it is, but there was just no volume. And I don't know, such a weird performance. I tweeted, wasn't Brandon Moreno fun at some point? And of course you corrected me and was like, no, he fought guys that forced that, which is what I thought would happen here. Because I mean, for the most part, raw dog forces good fights, but even he couldn't do it. So
he was trying.
Yeah, he was trying. He was trying. Yeah, there was not much taken from Moreno, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Moreno. I think he's skilled, but I don't know if it's the worst he's been in has taken some out of him. I don't know if he's worried about his chin. I don't know what's going on, but just a weird performance.
Moreno or Brennan Royval missed 365 significant strikes in that. Pretty damn impressive. And I say missed because like a lot of them were on arms and things like that.
Just blocked.
You know the bell curve meme where like all the normies in the middle are saying the dumb thing and the dummies and the smart people are saying the smart thing. I'm going to pretend that I'm on the high end of that curve, and I'm going to say that Brandon Royval was just punching his arms out.
Oh, yes.
And that's
they talk about that sometimes.
That's right. That's why Moreno couldn't do anything, because he was getting punched in the arms too much. He couldn't lift his arms to throw punches. So
that adds up over time.
Brilliant strategery by the Raw Dog. He's a real cerebral fighter now. But anyway, he gets the decision, cashes a bet. We'll take it. Co-main event, featherweight division. Brian Ortega gets Brian Ortega'd in the first round. And then Yair Rodriguez Yairs after beating the shit out of somebody in the first round. And this has got to be pretty close to a record for round 3 finishes. Because round 3 Ortega is right up there with round 3 YOLO.
Yes.
Like, mythical creatures. I know most of the work was in round 2, but he just waited. He was trying to pad the stats on this one to wait for that round 3 finish.
This was an absolute pure Ortega fight. Just rolls his ankle in the fucking when he's getting introduced. Absolute fucking band-aid. Gets his ass kicked so badly, but of course he is durable as fuck and he has an unbelievable chin, survives it, and then like you said, we didn't get classic third round Ortega where he's down 2-0. He was fighting Yair Rodriguez, so of course he can throw some stuff away. He gassed out. I don't know if it was elevation. I don't know what it was, but that dude can still grapple. It's wild. I mean, how many years was that Edgar fight where we all just won so much money? Like, that is bad that it has not really improved since then.
That was May 13th, 2017.
That was 6.5 years ago.
It's a lot of time.
Ortega took him down like easy. Absolutely easy. Anybody that, I mean, you gotta survive the shit that Yair throws. He does have elite offense, but man, absolute liability on the ground.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I know there were a few people out there that bet some Ortega sub at like 300s and higher.
Some round 3 too.
Yeah, I didn't see what that was, but damn, that would have been quite nice. Rest of the main card, all in one shot. Daniel Zellhuber, unanimous decision over Francisco Prado, Argentinian drew over. Jazmin Jaraguay, unanimous decision over Sam Page. And Manuel Torres with a first round rear naked choke over Chris Duncan.
I threw some small darts on Prado. Thought maybe he could catch Zellhuber's chin, who I don't think it's completely reliable, but man, Zellhuber looked good. He's a guy that actually can use his length fairly well. The defense is, I think, going to be a liability for a while, or if not forever. But man, he uses that insane length that he has, and that jab did fucking just unreal damage to that eye. They probably could have stopped it after the second. That's a guy that bet Prado, because he could have got his eye permanently fucked up, but he doesn't need to see.
Zellhuber still isn't having the problem that he had in his UFC debut, where he didn't throw anything. So that's nice to see, because he really picked it up in round 2 and 3 in this one. So yeah, good for him.
Yep.
Other things? Do we care?
No.
Torres seems
I
fun
mean,
against cans.
yeah. Torres looks fun. I mean, I don't hate a guy that just fucking smokes dudes. I mean, at some point he'll get tested, but in the meantime, he made me eat it. I had the over. I was praying. There was a big ass number. I was like, come on, Duncan can grapple. I guess he kind of tried and he just got worked.
Yep. And the other one did not look like a minus whatever favorite she closed as.
No. Didn't, but also Hughes is just not a good enough wrestler to take her down, and so then it's going to be a boring ass fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prelims. County. I need to go back and watch this one, apparently.
You do.
Apparently it was absolutely hilarious. So
Yep.
I'll go do that. I promise. But Howney, round 3, rear naked choke over Christian Quinones. Jesus Aguilar robbed Mateus Mendonça at gunpoint. Didn't watch the fight.
Tough.
First round, the chairman gets a conspicuously quick tap from Daniel Lacerda from a triangle. For SAM, split decision over Claudio Puelles. That's, again, haven't seen this one. Probably not going to go back and watch this one.
It's pain. It's absolutely fucking mind block.
The fact that he made it through 15 minutes with Puelles and couldn't win enough to convince all the judges, it's kind of scary. Ronaldo Rodriguez, second round sub right before the buzzer over Dennis Bondar. Felipe dos Santos, split decision. Holy shit with the split decisions. Over Victor Altamirano. And Mohamed No Name with an injury win. Was that like a calf kick thing, or was it like a he blew up his knee thing?
I didn't check that one out. That was the one that I
Wonderful.
didn't catch.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Everything else wins, though.
Yeah. I bet the over 1.5 in the Howney fight. Was looking at him and then stayed away, but yeah, that's good for him, man. That's a guy you can cheer for. Howney's he's a bit of a gem, an old school Brazilian. Yeah, Mendonca probably one. I don't know. That one's dicey. Lacerda was looking for his walking papers. Can't believe he got 4 fights in the UFC. It's wild that they would not cut him. Puelles, definitely. That's a bad split decision. That should have been Zion. Bondar, you got to go out. 1 second left. Just go out, man. What are we doing here? Altamirano won that fight. Yep, that's another robbery. bad scorecard. So it was an interesting prelims. You got bad decisions with like, I don't know, just weirdness. Local guys scoring it probably correct, and Vegas guys scoring it probably wrong. Interesting prelims. Not too much substance there though.
Well, you know who we're gonna have judging the fights this weekend? More Vegas guys. So bet those split decision props, folks.
Yeah.
UFC Vegas.
What number, Brad?
8?
7. 87.
Ah.
We've had 87 cards in the Apex.
Yeah. That's
fucking wild.
Have they done some like tough finales in the Apex too since have they done any toughs? And well, they've done tough since COVID, right?
They've done toughs, but they just put the guys on a card.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Which is probably in the Apex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing. And this one, we got the big boys in the main event. Because nothing brings the people out like Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Shamil Gaziev. Gets the people going, Shaun.
Oh
Tell
my
ya.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, that is going to be hilarious. It's hilarious that it's the main event. There's a couple things on the main card that might be fun, but overall, this is woof. It's no wonder the Saudis did not want this.
Yeah, that was an easy choice.
How much do you think they pay per card? Like, definitely 8 figures, easily. Do you think
I
they
would
get
say
up
it would have to be
9
8 figures.
for,
I don't. No.
Maybe for a big one?
How much would they pay? I mean, for a fucking fight night card, they are not paying 9. They are playing 8.
Don't they? Oh yeah, not for this card. They're not paying. They're not paying shit for this card. Nobody's paying for this card. But aren't these the dudes that pay like Ronaldo $1 billion a year?
I don't know. There's a bunch of different ones. I forget if that's the one. Are these the guy that just absolutely lit money on fire with the PFL Bellator pay-per-view card? Is that these people?
I think so. It's Riyadh season, baby.
So yeah. So then maybe they are just absolutely donating, funneling money to the UFC.
Yeah, like, and they've got they had Ngannou and Fury. They've got Ngannou and AJ coming up. Sweet promo video for that, by the way. Yeah, do more of that. Yep. So yeah, if they got a good card, I'm sure it's worth the UFC's while to go there, because they don't care about any of the things attached to the people. But anyway, we digress. We'll jump into the fights here. 11 of them this week. So, well, maybe
we got a good amount of cancellations and changes in the last couple of days, so that helps the numbers for sure.
Couple visa issues and UFC shocker announcing things before they were actually official. Never seen that before. And then just your normal injuries, all that stuff. You know what? It is a shame that we're missing out on Julia Pilastri and Josephine Knudsen.
Of course.
I was looking forward to that one. Low-key banger.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll kick it off in the lightweight division. All sweaty, my boy, taking on Loik Kradzabov. Shaun.
I don't know much about the all sweaty guy. I probably should, because I mean he did fight for an okay regional promotion, and then won a mediocre fight on Contender Series, I guess. Razabov's got to get takedowns. If he does, he probably wins, but I don't really want to bet it, even though he is a dog, because I don't know enough about all sweaty.
Yeah, I feel like the property of transitive fraudulence might be on display in this fight, because all sweaty beat that George Hardwick fella, who was supposed to be the next British champion when he was coming into tough and like a -400 favorite or whatever. And then this guy beat him. So everyone's like, oh no, this guy, all sweaty, is the future champ. And Radzabov isn't horrible. Rebeshki's a pretty tough matchup. I don't fault him too much for losing that one. If I'm very desperate and I'm watching the first fight of this card, first of all, God save my soul.
Mm-hmm.
But second of all, I'll probably have like a little play on Radzabov if I'm in a space in my life where I am watching this fight.
Perfect.
Bantamweight division. Vinny Olives, Bernardo Sopaj. Apparently he's Swedish.
Sure.
Who are these guys?
Albanian Swedish? I don't know. I don't care. De Silva crushed a guy on Contender Series, and he's not really a big favorite against a guy that, I don't know, didn't fight as good of guys on the regional scene. I'll probably pick the Oliveira, but I don't want to waste money on this.
Yeah, absolutely nothing here. We'll see if we learn something about somebody in this one, but yeah, there's better places for me to look for a bet. I guess if you're forcing me to make a Toutmaster pick, it's going to be Vinny Olives.
There we go.
Middleweight division, Claudio Ribeiro against old Clud himself, Christian Leroy Jenkins Duncan. Shaun?
Yeah, that might have been a consensus. I think it was a consensus on the old Trojan last time out. The Duncan got a little exposed there. Yeah. So Ribeiro's not Petrosian. He's definitely not. So I kind of get why, Duncan's a big favorite. Could he get cracked? That's obviously Ribeiro's path to victory, because I think Duncan's gonna be the sharper, more accurate striker that's gonna just kind of pick him apart. If I would look for anything, it might be the under, but at this point, I won't be touching that.
Yeah, under is the one thing I was looking at here, because if Ribeiro wins, it's gonna have to be early with something big, and if he doesn't, he's probably gonna gas. And I didn't hate the finish from Clud last time against a kind of similar guy who needs to get a big finish early, or he's going to gas out and get stopped. Just would hope in this fight, if I do bet the under 1.5, that he's doing it a little bit earlier in that second round. I guess, there's absolutely no way I'm betting Christian Leroy Jenkins Duncan.
No.
At minus 300 ever. But he probably wins here. Speaking of guys who probably win, Javid Whack-A-Mole Basharat is almost minus 1,000 against Ayman Zahabi now. There's 900s and stuff out there. That's a big number, Shaun. What do we do with that?
It is a big number. I have not thought much of Zahabi. I don't know if I faded him. I've definitely picked against him his last bunch of fights, and dude's got 2 first-round finishes and is on a 3-fight win streak. No, of course he's fighting very, very low-level guys who obviously Basharat is not. Basharat, I think, is going to get takedowns here. Hopefully we see a little bit more offense out of him since he's come to the UFC. He hasn't really shown much for finishing capabilities like he did on the regional scene. So, I mean, he's got to start finishing some fights because they don't really like guys that just don't get finishes in the UFC. They don't really get good matchups and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that he's going to push the offense, because I ended up taking the under 2.5. He is an absolute massive favorite, so I do expect him to win. And I just not been a big fan of Ayman Zahabi. He's proved me wrong last couple times, but the skill difference in this fight is going to be very apparent, and the same with the athleticism. So I just put a small 1 unit play under 2.5 at plus 179.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers that are out there, that makes a whole lot more sense than Basharat inside at plus 180, at least the way my brain does math. So I kind of agree with you here. UFC does not like guys who are just going to sit around and win a decision. They also do not like when guys who are Afghani or Afghan, I suppose, try to bring their flags out to the cage. Kind of
Very
same
angry.
as like when Palestinian guys try and do that. Rough. I mean, who crazy? Who would ever think that? But anyway, I digress. I don't even think that Zahabi's brother, coach, training partners really think that much of him either as a fighter, because this dude had one of the most protected records of all time before coming to the UFC, had a couple quick losses. And I think they've really still done a good job of matching him up since then. Like, Draco Rodriguez was bad at fighting. Ricky Tercios poses no danger to anyone. He's just really tough and has kind of good cardio. And Arichi Lang's a flyweight. So now he's facing an actual good bantamweight. The line is maybe a little ridiculous, but if the line is this ridiculous against a guy who I don't think is great in Zahabi, you should be getting a finish here. So I think I'm going to hop on board with you. The Canby books still have a plus 180 sitting out there on the under 2.5. So I will be hopping on board, and hopefully we see a Basharat actually get a finish. That would be nice.
Let's go.
Lightweight division. Ludovit Klein taking on AJ Cunningham. This is one of those late replacements, because this was actually supposed to be a somewhat decent fight with Joel Alvarez. But now we get this is the guy who was on Contender Series, and his backstory was like, yeah, I trained for fights by getting beat up by my dad, but like not intentionally. That was kind of this guy, right?
I think so. I can't really remember. It all blends. There's so many sob stories on that fucking show.
We can't talk about them too loud, or Laura Sanko is going to start feeling somewhere.
Ooh. Yeah. I don't know. This is weird. Cunningham's fighting before the guy who beat him knocked him out on Contender Series. Ludwig Klein, he is a bit of a flawed fighter, but man, he's doing all right. I know he's doing it by very thin margins, getting split decision wins over Devontae Smith and Jai Herbert, a majority decision. Like, that's not great, but he gets it done. And he was a big dog last time against Bahamondes, and he was able to take that one. So I'll side with him. It's minus 900. I don't know if he's gonna finish this guy. Probably not. So I guess you could look at him by. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just leaving that fight.
He has turned into a bit of a grappler, though, in his last few, as he's moved up in weight. Curiously enough, not quite sure how that's been working for him, but it has. Don't like the price tag whatsoever, but he's fighting a guy that really probably shouldn't be in the UFC. So over 1.5. Based on the only thing I know from Cunningham is his backstory is that he could take a beating, and his fight showed that he could take a beating as well, because he took a lot before he actually got stopped in that one. And if Klein decides that he's gonna wrestle in a little bit in here, then maybe we see a repeat. But I really don't have anything to bet on in terms of a side on this one. I feel like these are traps when it comes to Toutmaster. Because like you're like, oh, I could click this button and get 1 point, or I could click this button and get like 6 points. But the 6 points isn't really real.
No.
I'm gonna try not to fall into those traps this year. We'll see.
I mean, you might get a DQ win. Who was it that got one off of the Australian grappler, Whitaker's wrestling coach? That happened late last year. And it was like, I don't know, it was a plus 6, 7, 800, and yeah, got the DQ win. Just milked it and took it, and people are like, well, that's gonna fuck up Toutmaster a bunch right at the end of the year too.
Everything matters. They all count the same.
Yep.
When it comes to counting that money at the end of the year. Middleweight division, final prelim, the prelim headliner, if you will.
Oh goodness.
Is that still a thing when these cards are just the ESPN Plus cards? Like, it's all the same shit, right?
Kind of. I mean, other than places up here where it does some
Not this one.
they might be on TV depending on which ones they are, and you know, when there's pay-per-views, like they put them on like ABC or some shit like that. So in those cases, maybe, but on a fucking ESPN Plus card, yeah. No, it's as you can see by the effort they put in. Yeah, the effort that they put in to put this match together, you can tell that this doesn't matter.
Anyways, the fight that doesn't matter specifically in this case, Eric Anders, old applesauce brain himself, against Jamie Pickett, the ticket.
How does Pickett like fuck me? Like we're just normalizing having 4-fight losing streaks, eh? Like this is now a thing in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. Pickett was absolutely horrendous. I think I bet him possibly or threw a dart. It was a small play, but against Fremd, and he just makes you want more. Like sometimes there's like a glimmer there where you're like, man, if he, just like threw some more punches, I think he could win this fight, and then he just doesn't, and he loses.
If he threw more punches, he wouldn't be Jamie Pickett.
That's true. So that's just the way he is. I don't think Eric Anders is good, but he's better than Jamie Pickett. For the most part, I mean, I guess Pickett's he's got dropped a bunch, but I just don't think Anders is going to just wipe the floor with Pickett. It's going to be a boring 15 minutes that we all found out that's what Eric Anders does for the most part. So I like the over 2.5. I got it at minus 120. I got that for 2 units.
Yeah, I have a hard time envisioning any way in which this fight is entertaining. That's my big takeaway here. Could be a lot of it in the clinch. Jamie Pickett loves to spend time in the clinch, and Eric Anders is never opposed to it. So gonna be a lot of back and forth body locks. I think your over is probably a pretty good one here. I don't know if I'd still bet it at the current price. Maybe if I can find it goes the distance at a little bit cheaper than what some of the overs are right now, I'd take it. But yeah, Anders, unless he just lands something massive as he goes in for the clinch, I just see him winning a pretty tepid decision. Every once in a while, he does have that fight where he comes out and actually goes for it. So I hope that's the case here, but I'm not optimistic. Not when it comes to these dudes. Main card, flyweight division. We've got the egg dude, Steve, taking on Danger Schnell. Shaun, this one could actually be fun. I say could with a lot of emphasis because I remember the third round of the Egg Dude's last fight. And I'm still recovering from the cancer that gave me.
That was rough. I think if this, if Urseg wants to grapple, I think that's better for Schnell. Schnell can kind of get lit up on the feet, and if this turns into a grappling, that gives him much more of a chance to win. I don't think he's gonna win, but I do kind of think that this might go over. Schnell has a bit of a checkered history, but it's I just don't know that Steve Urseg is just gonna just absolutely crush this guy in the first round, and then we get to the second round. It's a lot easier to get to that 2.5 minutes. So I kind of side with the over. I haven't bet it yet, but that's kind of the way I'm looking. And Urseg probably wins late in the fight or decision.
Yeah, I'm looking in the same direction here as far as the total goes, but I think if it does go over, it's probably going to be a competitive fight. The Egg Dude is all right, but he's not spectacular at anything. Schnell does run face first into punches sometimes, though, which is very, very concerning for both the over and thinking that he might win this fight. But I think the Egg Dude, he made a lot of omelets on the regional circuit, cracked some eggs. But now that he's gotten to the UFC, he's just facing that classic issue of, oh, now you're actually fighting good fighters that you can't blow out in a minute. And as I said, Schnell is sometimes that dude that you can blow out in a minute, but as far as the skills go, he's certainly good enough to fight in there for 15 minutes with the Egg Dude. So I will probably have myself a bet on the over here. -130, I think, is the best around at the old Mason book and a couple others. Yeah. If it creeps up higher, like this line's getting a little out of control, I will have to take at least a half on Schnell, though. Bantamweight division, Cousin Umar taking on the best cat, Almakin. He's from Kazakhstan, Shaun, and he says he's the best cat. There's also a shave cat from Kazakhstan. So this guy's either a liar or very good.
He might be very good. I don't know. Some people are kind of eyeing him up just as like they still think he's gonna lose, which I mean, Umar is very fucking good. So but this is interesting because this guy has a bit of a hype behind him. Seems like a pretty skilled guy. At these lower weight classes, we know there is some pretty damn good guys on some regional promotions, and they can kind of surprise. Umar's very fucking good, so I mean that's going to be a tough task. But I'm interested to see how good this guy is because he's going to lose here. But is he something going forward? Is he going to look good against Umar and then shit the bed like somebody last week, or is he actually just good? So I'll be interested to watch this one, see if it's going to be a blowout or if he can actually test Umar a bit.
Yeah, this is another similar one to not quite as extreme as Basharat as far as the total goes, but you've got a even bigger favorite than in that fight, and the over 2.5s around even money. Under's a little bit juiced, but the best cat, I've seen a couple of his fights on Octagon. I don't know why I was watching that. Probably very bored at the time, but he can crack. So I think if he pulls off the upset, it's because he's landed something big early on and he's got the knockout. But I didn't watch this fight. Going back to his only loss, it is a submission loss in the second round. So, if he is dangerous early, I can see Umar saying that he doesn't want to mess around as it gets later in the fight and gets him to the mat and gets a sub. So might end up with less confident about this than the over 1.5 in the previous fight. But we might end up with a little bet on the under 2.5 in this spot as well. And that will bring us back down to the flyweight division. Good fight here. Alex Perez, Muhammad Mukayev. Shaun, is it time? Is he going to mook it up for real?
Let's hope. If the good Alex Perez shows up to this fight, I think this is a good matchup. This is going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a close fight. It's always just trusting the good Alex Perez to show up, because
Alex Perez to show up sometimes.
Any Perez, because it might not happen. This fight could very well not happen. It's highly probable. Alex Perez has terrible luck when it comes to his opponents getting injured and pulling out for whatever reason, and then himself is a bit of a band-aid. So who knows if this fight actually happens, but when he's going good, he's a good fighter, and I'm just not sold on the Mukayev. He's had close fights. Like Tim Elliott was up 2-0, I believe, in that fight, or it might have been 1-1. I can't remember. He might have been on his way to winning that fight, and then Elliott lost. And then
Gordon was 1-1, and Malcolm Gordon was on his back in the third round.
That was tight against Malcolm Gordon. Like, against a guy that has pretty good grappling, like he's only been taken down by some very elite guys. I question if he's going to be able to have success. We know he can chew a bunch of takedowns. He seems like he has pretty decent gas, but if Perez stuffs some of these shots and is able to land a bit on the feet, I think this we might see some Mukayev showing up. So I'm gonna probably put a play on Alex Perez and pray that the good one shows up.
I'm right there with you. I think that defensively, his wrestling is good enough that he's gonna stuff some takedowns. He's probably gonna get taken down once or twice, but he's gonna be able to scramble back up to his feet. I still don't like them. But I recognize they are probably going to be an integral part of this fight. Just go back to Perez's fight against Formiga. He's going to throw calf kicks. He's going to throw calf kicks. So if Mookie can't get him down and get him out of there early, I think it's going to get tougher and tougher for him to get takedowns. The striking is still not there for him, which means round 2 and round 3 of this fight are going to be something tough. So, yeah, I'm going to take Alex Perez. There's a plus 270 out there at the Mason book and a few other spots. There's a plus 280 at FanDuel, which some people might have available to them. And it's actually a plus 290 at BetMGM. So those are all pretty accessible books, I would say. What price do we want to go with here, Shaun? Because Alex Perez is going to be the consensus bet of the week.
We will go with plus 275.
Meet it in the middle. Is that even a real price anywhere right now?
It's on Pinnacle, which is
okay.
I'm going to bet it.
Fair enough.
And where you can actually bet a good amount. So,
not on lacrosse, you can't. They don't even post it.
I know, because they're scared. They're scared of you, Bradley.
I know.
That's a sign of respect.
Every week I listen to Pizzola's podcast talking about what a great book Pinnacle is, and they tell you
Great
you're
book for what it
max.
offers. It's a great book for what they offer.
Very true. Very true. A good addition to the old portfolio, if available in your jurisdiction. Because obviously we wouldn't condone anything other than, betting where it's legal.
Legally?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Alex Perez, plus 275 or higher. Consensus bet of the week. Boom.
Boom.
Co-main event. Massive step down now. Vitor Petrino. As far as guys who might see the most improvement now that USADA's gone, this dude might be top of the list. He knows where to get the yams. You can tell. He's taken on Tyson Pedro. Yeah,
that's got me a little bit worried. I bet the over 1.5, and I don't know if I tweaked the model enough to adjust for the no USADA. This guy coming in absolutely piss and fire. It's an interesting fight. Pedro is not good. I know he just waxed the pleasure man last time out, but that's a pretty nice setup for him. Like we always say, I don't know who books this man's whoever this manager is gives him some softballs. That's for goddamn sure. I think he's getting a tougher guy this time out. Petrino's shown pretty well. I just think it's going to take a little more than 7.5 minutes. Petrino, has some finishes under that, but he also got some really late finishes and a decision. So I like over 1.5. I played it on a much better number. I got the old CLV win, so I got them at plus 120 for one unit. I think Petrino does get a finish in the early third.
Yeah, kind of tough to bet now because, like you said, Pedro could get finished late. We've seen him gas out in fights. We've seen him just look like absolute dog shit in fights after the first couple minutes, like in the old Matas Bukaki fight a little while back. Obviously gassing and getting knocked out by a decrepit, no ligament anywhere in his body Shogun was a pretty bad look. And the wins that he's had since he came back are not inspiring confidence. So I think the get out of jail free cards have run out for Tyson Pedro and his camp. Maybe looking at Petrino inside. It's minus 145. I don't like laying juice on stuff like that, but that's a pretty decent discount off his money line, and I would expect that he's going to get this done by a stoppage. So yeah, Petrino here. I don't know that I love your over. I especially don't love it at the price that it's available at now. That's for sure. So you're already 1-1 on this fight by winning the CLV battle. So it's lovely. We will move it on to the main event. But LR, you're right. I chat with those guys regularly on the sides. I can get down a decent amount when it comes to lacrosse. Enough to satiate this palate. Sate this palate? Sate this palate. It's weird to say that, though. Main event. Heavyweights. What everybody came to see. We've got Jairzinho Rozenstruik, member of the fantasy Jewish fight team, because you can't spell Jairzinho Rozenstruik without Zionist. You can look that up. Yeah. And he's taken on Shamil Gaziev, which you can't spell without heaves, which is what he does about 90 seconds into every fight that he's ever been in. Just a legend in his own right, still undefeated. Shaun, what's happening here?
I don't know why. Just UFC will just never learn. Fucking just terrible heavyweights in the main event. It's not like there's anything better on this card that they could have been in the main event. It's fair enough, but Rozenstruik's terrible. He's absolutely exposed by. I mean, it's not really exposed when we already knew he was that bad on the ground. I expect Gaziev to do the exact same thing, take him down, finish him probably fairly quickly. I might put Gaziev in a parlay, but I don't know. I might just not give a shit.
That is absolutely insane talk. Also, you got me to. Comedy is about timing and delivery, folks. It's not necessarily about the content. You got me on a legitimate spit take there. It happened.
Yep.
It missed the camera by a little bit, but there's a little bit of beer right here on my screen. So thank you for that. I'm going to have to clean that up later, you asshole. You're looking at this fight completely wrong. These are two fat guys. One fat guy doesn't do anything at all, except maybe sometimes throw big punch, go bonk. And the other guy dies when he tries to do anything, which that's not great. So we're gonna get two guys standing here staring at each other.
Your favorite.
It's gonna be incredible. I'm not even sure that old Gazzy is gonna try a takedown. He's gonna be so scared of that power from the Rozenstruik that he's just gonna, pop that jab out at distance, tire himself out doing that. And I think this is going to be an absolutely horrible fight. I am definitely taking some fatties here. We got some plus 145s on the board.
50.
I am gonna ladder that shit up all the way. I'm gonna have a little bit of the fight goes distance at 750 and work it all the way back down. I think this could be a truly horrific fight, an all-timer that a whole bunch of people are wondering, why am I doing this to myself at 1:30 in the morning or whenever the fight ends up airing?
No, this is we should this card starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh,
so
fuck, I'm cooked on Toutmaster. It's over. I've been doing them for the most part on like a Thursday or Friday, which is
hard to get it in early.
Yeah. But okay. Well, in that case, maybe I'll still be awake for this one. Maybe this will
give you a nice afternoon nap, like just before dinner time. Pre-dinner nap.
Main event dog walk fight. You gotta love it. But I'm gonna pick Rozenstruik because we gotta stick with our people, through thick and thin.
Right.
And we're gonna get silly with some of the totals here. And just see where we can get. But that's about it. Shaun, we got through it. Under an hour. We did it.
And next week we actually have a very, very good card. UFC 299. Let's go.
That's tremendous. I love it. And next weekend, the Rock game is early. I think it's a 5 p.m. start, which means I'll be back like shortly after, or like game will go till 7, get home at 8:30. the prelims will be on, and I think those are like actually decent prelims on that card next week, right?
Yep, very good prelims. We also have Hog
Hog.
versus Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
Are they is that head to head? Are they going?
Yeah.
Are they counter programming with Gaziev versus Rozenstruik?
No, that's next week as well.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, so it's the day before, or it's the afternoon before 299. That's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a Friday afternoon card going on there. It's kind of a weird one, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how many fights are on there or something. I've seen some of them, like the giant Zhang is taking on Joe Parker, which is pretty good for a heavyweight fight in boxing. Yeah, we'll see where that goes, but it'll be something interesting to end off the work day next Friday. But we'll be back for that. I'm sure if Wes is back, he'll probably want to talk about that. I don't really care if I'm not sitting there watching with the boys at the sports book, but I'm sure. Exactly. Anyway, thank you all for joining us this week. We'll be back again next week for a good card.